Evening labs. Evening chat. Evening labs. Welcome all. Hi all, waving hand, smiling face. Hi pretty. Hi eyes upside down face. Hi Jay.
Right, let me know if you guys can hear me at all now, if the mic's working. I don't know what's going on. There we go, that was weird. There we go. There we are, now we're working. Right. So, first things first, we shall have a look at what some of the things are we need to do around here, kind of explain what the area is that we're in at the moment, and also I'll explain who the crazy crew are behind me, so yeah, bear with me on that one. We'll try and explain some of the basics of the menus. There are a couple of different menus with this game, and I'll be honest, when I first looked at it, it was a bit good grief. But yeah, we'll see how we go, and we'll also have a look at a couple of missions hopefully, and try not to die. So yeah, first things first, if we have a look at the map, bear with me 1 second. Right. So this area we're in at the moment is your sort of safe zone, if you will, or the main hub, which is called Albion. and there's lots of different areas that you can interact with in here. I'll show you those in a second. But you've got this little area down here, which is another teleport, which you can unlock once you complete the campaign, which just means from when you spawn in at the very beginning here. Say if you're having to run all the way down here, you can literally hop over to that bit. This, shall we say, young lady, to be polite, that stood next to me, I can't actually talk to her now, but this is a person known as the guide, who, when you play through the game, you'll get to understand who she is and what she's all about, and kind of a bit of the story. She'll talk you through a lot of things and a lot of the missions, as well as a lot of other people who are also involved as well. Bear with me.
Lads, you gotta send me your user ID, so we can team up for some first Descendant shenanigans.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you have to, just haven't got around to it yet because it's slightly different on here. Unlike Conan and other games where it's just your regular tag, there is obviously a bit more to it, but we shall have a look and try and sort something out, definitely. So we'll just let those guys wait there a second and I'll quickly show you around. And then we'll come back and introduce you to the...
Your tag plus a bunch of weird numbers, lol.
Yep, that's the one. Yeah. So if we go back across here, this little area is where you will obviously first arrive and first spawn in, and then you've got lots of different, I say lots, there's a few different places that you can visit for different interactions. You've got a mailbox which you can get all your mail from, storage box, which, yeah, is pretty much full already. Still think they need to add a bit more space in those because there's not a lot of room in them, if I'm being honest. This terminal you can eventually interact with to do infiltration missions, and if I remember correctly, you can't get on these until you complete the campaign, if I've remembered correctly.
Show the social screen and I'll snag it real fast and send you a friend request.
Yep, no problem. Give me 1 second. So, yeah, if you are on PlayStation, it's your, not the options button, your big button in the middle of your control pad, and then we go along to social, which is this one. And then this will give you your name as whatever your PSN name is, if it's PlayStation or Xbox or PC, whatever you're on. This game is cross-platform. Requests you'll get over on this side. People that you're already friends with on here will appear on this side, and then anybody else that plays will appear over here. Where are we? Let me have a look. Should be able to see me on that side. Yeah, there we go. Just up on the top left there. So that's where you can get people's ID from. Obviously it is slightly different with the letters and numbers. You'll need to include those to be able to find people. But that's where you get those from. And this is where you can also see if you're in a party or a group with people. It'll give you a little icon on here as well to show that you're in a group with them. So that is on that tab. This one will show you your current quests that you have. You might not have as many of these at first. If you're just doing the main story, you'll just have that one. This is the world map, which if we press our big button again, takes us to this map. You'll literally start, if I remember correctly, in Kingston, which is this zone here, and then you'll work your way through all these different zones, doing different missions, and then finish up over this side, One of the places we're actually going to visit over here, you won't have this early on, but once you've completed the campaign and you've got everything unlocked, you'll be able to visit this area as well. Quite a fun little location that we're going to go to for a couple of different reasons, which I'll touch upon when we come to that rather than doing it now. But this is where you get your world map, and you can also look at your what are called in-game intercept battles, which as you complete each zone, you'll take on one of these bosses at the very end to complete that zone, starting with the sort of the very lowest, and then they get a little bit harder as they go along in difficulty, and then you have some more of these in hard mode again, which are a lot harder. But that's something else to look into once you get going. But if you're just starting out, don't worry too much with them, but you will get introduced to each one. Excuse me, as you progress your way through the campaign.
I'll send the request later. Can't get on now, unfortunately. Low.
Yeah, no worries, not a problem. If you manage to get that, hopefully that's good. So yeah, then as you discover your intercept bosses, you can come and speak to this guy here, and each time you've got to face one of these Colossus bosses, you'll be able to choose it from here. I won't go into one now, but you can select it here, and then it'll give you the option to either go in private, so you can go in on your own, or with a group if you've got 3 other people with you. It is only limited, unfortunately, to 4 people in a boss fight or in any of the zones. If it's just you playing yourself, then obviously you can select public, and it'll find...
I got level 100 guns already. Low, gonna melt everything.
It'll find you 3 other randoms to take in with you, and hopefully it works out, because to be quite honest, especially when you get to the hard mode bosses, it's definitely better to have a group running with you that know what they're doing. At least we all try and think we know what we're doing anyway. We do try. So that's that guy. Most of your missions as you're going through the campaign, and it brings you back to Albion, it'll get you to speak to different people down here, mostly this guy. That's Alpha. You'll get a box down here if you've got missions to do still, to click on, and then he'll talk to you and tell you whatever the missions are and what have you. Excuse me. And then you've got other people that will be sort of scattered around here as well, that you'll have to interact with at different times, but you'll always get a little diamond, I want to call it, above the person that you need to speak to, so you'll kind of always know where you're going.
Here you'll house things at Descendent time.
And then this robot here is another, I say person, robot, suppose, that you can speak to, and again there'll be a tab down here, and they'll have little challenges that you can complete for XP and what have you, that will also give you little rewards as you progress through it. Then we start getting into the interesting part then, which I'll be honest, I'm still getting my head around bits of this, but when you first look at it, it is confusing, but once you start talking to somebody that knows a bit more than you do, it starts to make sense, believe it or not. This person around here, you can come in and speak to this lady here.
Now what do you want? Go on, I'm waiting.
Somebody's in a foul mood. She doesn't always say now what do you want, she does say other things as well, but you can speak to her, and there's just all sorts of different bits and pieces that you can craft.
It's got major Destiny vibes.
Yeah, a lot of people said that, didn't they, when it first came out? I think they said, didn't they, what was the phrase? It's like Warframe and Destiny had a baby and this is it. That's kind of what people were sort of saying, I think. But yeah, all sorts of materials and resources that you would need. Different descendants that you can also craft, which you're going to need various parts for. There's so much just to go into. There's a lot to it. Just take your time with it. It's the main thing I can say. Take your time with it and just enjoy it, because there's heck of a lot to get used to. But you've got weapons,
It's
descend.
a lot to wrap your head around to start with, but it's good fun with friends.
Oh yeah, it's definitely good fun with friends. Absolutely, yeah. Things just get even more confusing, don't they? Yeah, but lots of different descendants. Some of them, there are what they call
I've
ultimate
got 6
versions.
different descendants unlocked already.
Nice. I bet I've been busy. But you've got the standard version of a descendant, shall we call them, and then you've got some of them have an ultimate version, which have slightly better stats and some boosts to various different things. And then there's a new one, Luna, that's fairly new one. She came out not long ago. There's also another new one we're going to be getting, which is not a new descendant, but the Freyna is the next one to get an ultimate version to her. So
Yay,
that should be.
My Conan clan and I hit this game hard for a few weeks grinding out pieces.
Yeah, it's definitely a grind, isn't it? It's definitely a grind-based game, absolutely. Gets a bit frustrating when you can't get the piece that you're after, but eventually you can get lucky and it does give you the piece, but you just hear so many people just say, oh, just be patient with it. Hard to do when there's a certain thing you're after and you just want to get things done. But yeah, there's quite a few of them are quite popular. You've got Ajax is quite a popular one. Sharon, who's a sort of stealth-based character, she's quite popular. Fiesta, see quite a few of those.
Is a lie, a dirty, dirty lie.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, 20% chance. Feels more like a flipping 2% chance, doesn't it? Sometimes I've had missions like that where it's given me a 20% drop chance and run it 2 dozen times and still not got it. So I know what you mean. It's yeah, it's interesting. Then of course you got Ultimate Bunny, which is the better version of the regular bunny. He's one of the characters you can choose at the very beginning. See a lot of people playing as Bunny. It's surprising how popular that one is. But yeah, then you've got different weapon materials, which some of these
Good evening, lads and chat. Sign of
take a while,
smiling face with sunglasses. Sign of
because you've got to get the various different pieces for them. Like they'll take, each weapon will have 4 different sections, and it'll want you to craft, just for an example, one of these for it, maybe one of these, and one of these, and then you'll have to get a blueprint as well. And obviously for each piece,
Evening, Angar.
it'll give you
Getting the last piece of Freyna with that drone escort mission was a nightmare.
what you need to get.
To do it 15 times before
If
I
you
got the piece.
hover each of those little squares, it will tell you what you require for that particular item, and also give you a list of where you get it from.
Oh crap, the boss is here. Best behavior, everyone.
Yeah, especially you, Angelo. Definitely. Yeah. Good evening, Angar. Good to see you. Hope you're well. Just seen your recent Conan video. That was another interesting one again. Got lucky with Delancia that time.
Hi,
Not in the same spot that you thought she was last time, but
nothing, lads,
managed to get her, didn't you? Which was good. That was an interesting little run. Bit surprising the same, like you said, with the where there's no tablet for the Arena Champion armour.
Hello there, Angar, smiling
Which is
face with
unusual.
hands.
But maybe it's a
Good
bit
to see
different
you
on the
back
Savage
streaming
Whales, I
again,
don't
mate.
know. So, but yeah, these will take you a lot of resources per piece to craft and a bit of time. Then once you have done, then you'll be able to obviously craft them into whichever the weapon is that you're going after. This one, probably the easiest to get early game, because one of the locations that we're going to visit in a little while actually is where you get one of the pieces from for this, and it's probably one of the most OP, or if not the best SMG in the game, because there's a little trick you can do with it as well that makes it even better. And once you've got it maxed up to this particular little trick you can do with it, then yeah, it's like an absolute truck, as the saying goes. So there's a lot to it with that one. And as you're researching pieces, like I've got something here that's ready, and something that's still researching, it'll tell you how long it's got left on it. Once you've got something complete, you can just click on it, and that's now in your inventory of resources that you've got, so when you need to go and do various things, you've got them available. Like I say, there's a lot to get your head around, but it's very good now that at least you can look at the item you need, request the information for it.
I can start streaming. Can't send the gremlin to a babysitter with a broken arm.
And it'll tell you where you need to go and the missions you need to do to get it. So just if you're looking for something in particular, have a look at each little bit, get the information for it, click on the location it's giving you to go to, and if you're able to go to that area, then obviously go to that one. But a lot of the areas you may not have unlocked until you completed the campaign, which is the downside to it, but all of your weapons will eventually be at level 100. Wrong button, that one. So you'll end up with level 100 weapons. But in the campaign, as you progress through, you'll start at level 1 and then work your way up with them as you use them and get higher levels as you level up. The maximum level is level 40, technically. This character Valby that I'm on at the minute isn't level 40 again in a minute, because there's something I've done with her that you can do to boost your abilities even more, which we'll go into in a second. But weapons, you can again mod those out with different modules that will give them different capabilities, or more damage, more crit damage. It's a whole other thing to get your head around again, but I'm not going to spend the 2 hours just going through all of these, because otherwise it won't be very interesting.
Nice. Valby is great for farming.
But yes, Valby is a good one for farming, as is Bunny if you're using the her big AoE ability. She's definitely good. But yeah, the trick with the Thunder Cage very quickly is if you get yourself one of these, get it made with the crafter, and then farm all the resources up again for another 4 of these, and then very quickly, once you've got...
Bunny is the game's favourite child. Prove me wrong, lol.
Bunny's the game's favourite child. Why do you think so many people play her? She's a beast. She destroys everything. Just as a lot of the others can do, if not all of them. But yeah, she's definitely a fighter on her own, that one. But yeah, once you complete the campaign and you've got all your weapons up to, or at least got your rank so that you can get a level 100 weapon from the hard version of the game, you come to this machine. And you got
really does. Super opus.
different options here. So you can select a weapon from here. I'm not going to do this now because obviously it's not what I want to be doing, but you would select the weapon that you want to upgrade. So you'd put your level 1 Thunder Cage here, and then it'll ask you to select a weapon that you want to use as material. So any level 100 you've got will appear here, and you can select the one. So again, you'd use your level 100 gun as material, and then your level 1 Thunder Cage that you've had crafted from the person that you craft it with, well, that crafts it for you, and it'll take it from a level 1 to a level 100. And then you can, once you've got the others made, again you can come here and you can change the attributes.
That hand cannon you got is my favourite personally.
The hand cannon, oh that's, yeah, and there's Estra's Devotion. Yeah, that is a good one. It's another popular one again. You can change the attributes that the weapon has. But then the other option is this one. So again, you would select it there. And obviously I haven't done it with this weapon, but where you can see these little squares here, each time you get a Thunder Cage, so you've leveled it up from level 1 to 100, then you need to go out and use that weapon and get its mastery rank, as it's called, from level 1 to 40. Then once you've done that, you'll be able to come here and then take one of your level 1 Thunder Cages that you've crafted again, and combine it with your level 100, so eventually once you've filled out those little spaces there, it will give it a bit more of a damage boost and also unlock its special ability that it has, or certainly make its special ability deal a lot more damage than what it initially does, which is a lightning ability if I'm correct, sort of a shock damage that it does, which is why you'll see a lot of Bunny and Valby and most of the characters, if anything, kind of using that one. But yeah, if we go back to the build quickly, this, like I say, I've not been using Valby very long, so she's no win.
Player solo pyro last night on hard didn't fire his gun once, was all skill damage.
There you go. See, even with Bunny you don't even have to use the weapon. But yeah, this is Valby, and her skills are all water-based abilities, if you will. So we're still trying to get the perfect reactor for her yet. Still need to get modules, which these give you all different things again. And when you hover over them, it'll tell you what it's going to give you. So it'll either be an increase to defense or health or shield and whatever, things like that. And then it'll give you substats underneath, which again could be more health or health recovery, more MP, which is your mana power, which is your power that you need, or recovery options of it.
That's impressive, Naughty.
It will do various different things, or you'll get something called Kuiper Shard drop rate increase, or module drop rates, which can be really useful for when you're farming. These ones, I believe, drop from intercept battles on hard once you've got you're at level 100, so you completed the campaign.
Thundercats is an awesome mob gun.
But yeah, Thunder Cage is just awesome. I did like it when I first tried it. I was using the Python for a while, which is another good gun that you can get, but since switching to the Thunder Cage, it's definitely better. Ideally, with this, I'm looking for where it says
boosting your shields is worthless. Focus on defense and health.
Yeah, pretty much. So non-attribute and dimension, I think it is we're looking for here with Valby, because of the skills I'm going to be using. And also I want...
Good evening all, sorry I'm late. Got new time zones mixed up.
6 badges, good to see you. Welcome on in. You're not late at all, do not worry. It's not a problem. So yeah, where you've got the little bit at the top there that says about the mounting, ideally I want a Thunder Cage mounting for it. And then down at the very bottom, ideally some different perks that will obviously boost damage or crit damage especially, or duration or cost for skills.
Now I'm nostalgic for Thundercats. Bonza 6.
I see what you mean there, Cassie. Yeah, Thundercats, yeah. Thundercats, Thunder Cage, yeah. So even though we've got the 3 weapons, and I'm just using an assault rifle, which you can get in game. This is a shotgun again that you can craft with the same person where you get Thunder Cage from. Pretty much most of the time I am just using Thunder Cage though, to be honest. And then you've got this here, which is your Descendent mods, as they're called, so your characters mods.
Hey damn, the theme song's stuck in my head now. Thanks, Naughty. I have all the Thundercats DVDs.
Oh, very cool. Got them all, eh? So each Descendant will vary on
Evening Moon Amy Wineglass.
What their sort of abilities are, kind of thing. A lot of these will be the same, but you want to use the ones more focused to what that particular Descendant does. So if you've got any cards that give you a boost to obviously crit damage, normal damage, all that type of stuff you'll want, but you want things that decrease your cooldown time so you can get your abilities back quicker, cost reduction. This is one of the best ones for Valby, people say. And again, like a lot of other games, these cards come in different rarities, from like the very basic up to blue, purple, and then gold ones, which are your better ones, and then Transcendent, which are your very bottom ones, which give you...
You want skill stats in those bottom stats, if you can get them as they are multiplicative.
Yep, there you go, absolutely. But Transcendent mods, you typically have a Transcendent mod here for a lot of Descendants, shall we call them, modern characters. This one isn't a Transcendent, but it's one of the ones that people say to use quite a bit, and you'll see very shortly why it's such a good one and what it helps with, and why it's kind of one of the best for Velby. Like I say, I haven't been playing her a tremendous amount of time yet, so I'm kind of getting used to her, but having lots of fun. My main character when I started was I started with Ajax when I started the game, and then once I got the campaign complete and done and what have you, and got Bunny unlocked, I've pretty much used Bunny most of the time. So I've got the regular Bunny, but I've also got the ultimate version now, which I'm currently working on, and still tweaking the build for her because she's still not quite there yet. But yeah, it's a lot to get your head around. I haven't actually done any videos on this as yet, but there are a lot of creators out there who have done different guides talking about your modules and reactors, the Descendant modules that we just touched on there, and they're all what are best weapons to use.
What do you get when you
This is where you can select your character. Then if you look up here, this will show you their sort of skills that they use. But then as you can see there, it'll tell you just under the picture, so just above the skill name, what it requires. So like with this one, non-attribute dimensional, so that's why we need to look at these, and that's why with her abilities, when we're trying to get a reactor, we try and go for a reactor with non-attribute dimensional to give us a boost to those particular skills. So like I said, there's a heck of a lot to it, and too much to just, you could spend 2 hours just going through all the menus and everything in here, to be honest. But like I said, there's plenty of videos out there that people have done. Best farming spots for resources, equipment guides, lots and lots of information out there from people who played the beta for this when it first came out and that are still doing it now, including Twitch streamers as well who play quite regularly. So if you want to know about anything specific, definitely have a look at them, and I'm sure you'll find what you're looking for, definitely. But as we say, this is the main event hub where you'll start from, and if you've got some friends you can play with, then I would definitely recommend doing that, because it definitely makes life a lot easier. Certainly an early game with some of the missions as you progress through the map. Kingston isn't so bad. There are a couple of missions towards the end that get a bit more tougher, but as you start progressing through, naturally as you get higher level, the enemies start hitting harder and you are very squishy at first. So it's always good to have some friends there to help you out. And I think if the crew's ready to go, now that's a fancy bug if you've never seen that one before. People playing the bongos without it even there in front of you. Look at that. But you don't see that every day, do you? So yes, we're going to head off to a little location in just a second, which is a little cave which has a mission. You'll hear, I think it's Alpha that gives you the instructions as we trigger the mission. He'll be saying what to do and what we need to do, and we'll do a couple of runs of it just so that you can see how it works. You could do it on your own, but to be honest with the group it's a lot easier and it's a lot more fun. It's a great farming spot because you can get lots of Kuiper shards, which is one of the resources you're going to need a lot of to be able to do things, and also gold. So it's a great little farming spot for lots of fun resources and also some reactors. If you get lucky, and you never know, you might get one that you want. But the key thing is you're having fun with it at the same time. So yeah, definitely take some friends to it and check it out. So we'll, if the crew's ready, we shall head off to our first little location, which is the Kuiper mine. We'll go and explore and see what we can do. No menu, so we need that one, that one. And then this little menu I'm on now, just for those who don't know, if you are in a group with somebody and they want you to take the lead because you know where you're going, if you click on that person's name that you know is in your group and then click transfer lead like that, this is not the group that we're in. All of these, obviously, this is just a list of people as your friends list, but it will tell you on the person's name who's in your group, but you'll also see it on the right hand side of your screen. So we'll head off to our first little spot, and this one is great, like I say, not just for the resource farming but also for the XP as well. So if you've got a character that you want to level up, or if you're leveling somebody up again because you've done something with them, if I just quickly show you, which is what we're in the process of doing. If you've been on this option here, once your character's been at level 40 and you've added one of these letters into a slot, once you've got this particular resource that you will need to do it, and your character has to be level 40, once you've added one of these in again, you don't get weaker in your skill necessarily or anything like that, or lose any other progress, but what it will do is set your character back down to level 1. So I've already been running this a little bit before stream, so we're not back at level 1, we have leveled up a little bit, but you'll need to get yourself back to level 40 again before you can add another letter in, if that's what you want to do. Again, if you're trying to use the catalysts as they're called, which allows you to increase your modules that you have in even further, which is something to look at when you're more towards endgame, as they would say. So this is your first little mission that we want here. If I show you where we are on the map, there is where we've just come out of this cave, a little temporary safe zone here, which you'll need to unlock. You can get to a lot of the other main ones, which is like this one here, but then as you travel around the map you'll also find these little ones. If I quickly show you, when you discover them, you'll notice there is a little, we've called it a dog, it's because it kind of looks like a mechanical dog. It will open up once you discover it, and it'll be like a temporary safe zone that you can then teleport back to. These barrels you can interact with, and it'll give you some resources as well. And then yeah, you can discover your little missions, but this one's a really good spot to find. And then you can come up to these, and as you'll see, it'll bring up a little menu there. It'll kind of tell you what you're going to get and all the different bits of information that you need. And then when you're ready to activate it, you can interact with this, and you can do it on normal or hard difficulty. If you're trying to re-level a character, if you're doing it early on, you do it on normal, but once you're at end game level and you're just re-leveling a character again, then you're better doing this on hard, especially if you do this on hard mode with some friends, because then it's a bit easier for the damage output, but also you'll get a lot more XP and a lot more resource. So you can
Descendant, this place is a Kuiper mine that has been taken over by the Vulgus.
interact with that like that. So this is where we're going, into this little area here. Just so that you know on the map, if you're on PlayStation, if you press your big button in the middle of your controller, you'll get your zone map. If you want to check the world map, you press it again. As you'll see, we're here on this location, so you can check where you are, and each mission will give you a different objective to carry out. You've got a little mini map up in the top left there, which will kind of show you where you are and anybody else that's in the zone with you. If you enter a zone solo, you will get 3 other people that can join you in a zone. It only allows up to 4 people per zone. You'll get random enemies like that that'll be wandering around, so just be careful. This, if you stand in it, will actually hurt, so be careful in different areas of different hazards, because that can hurt you. To switch weapons, we use triangle, so we can switch between our first 2 weapons. If I want to use my shotgun, just hold triangle and then we can use this. It's all your standard controls for everything. Then what will happen with this mission is when we go in here, there'll be a certain amount of enemies to kill, and then there's a box in the centre that will appear that we've got to interact with to activate. That crazy zapping you can see going on is Bunny trying to get her energy charged up, because otherwise you ain't going to be able to use any skills, and that's not good. You definitely don't want to be standing still when you're on Bunny, which I was just saying to some friends earlier. Since I've been playing Valby, I've been that used to having to do this when I'm stood somewhere, because I'm on Bunny all the time. I've got that used to having to just move around to keep my energy bar up. It's unusual to be on a character that doesn't have to move anymore. So if we pop in
The Vulgus' Kuiper
here,
mining methods are extremely aggressive, leading to devastating contamination. The ores we seize from them
we
are unusable.
pop our...
Across between restless leg syndrome and the
That's a good way to put it, yeah. As you can see from the Valby there, you can put this water down, which is, you can use L1 and X for that little ball ability, which can do quite a lot of damage. L1 triangle, you can pop a lot of water everywhere, which is a big AoE, which is deadly to enemies.
Storage box contains the Kuiper collected by the enemy.
And as you can tell there, how it's just continued now, so that's with the little box that's in the centre there. That then disappears, and all these different circles now. Now to complete this mission, you have to do 7 of them. You've got to stand in 7 of these and complete the mission. However, if you want to do this mission as a farming run for the gold and the Kuiper, for example, and for the XP, you don't want to stand in all 7. So this is why it's good to have a group of friends to run with, because you can all then communicate and know what you're doing. So I'll let the guys get those others now, just so you can see what happens. Because if you get the 7th one and you collect the 7th circle, if you will, then obviously the mission's over and you'll get your mission rewards, which, while they're just doing that, if you check on here, so if we're looking at Thunder Cage, you can get yourself one of these from here. Has a percentage chance to drop from here, which is one of the items you'll need for the Thunder Cage submachine gun. But if you're just wanting to do this for the leveling, which as you can see I'm gaining XP there just for doing this, if you do this on hard mode, how dare you sneak up behind me, excuse me, then yeah, this is definitely a good one to do. One of the best ways to do this, well I said one of, there's a few ways that you can do this. Once you've collected your 6 rings and you're not doing the 7th one, as you can see the guys doing there, you can either, if you've got a Valby or a Bunny, they can run around the outside using their electric ability, or you can combine it where you have a Valby using her water ability, which is an AoE, running around the outside of the circle, and then have a Bunny in the middle of the circle just running around zapping everything. You can obviously join in with this as well, depending on whichever character you're on, so even if you're a bit squishy, you've got no worries, because obviously everything's just instantly dying, but as you can see it's dropping all the resources, so the different things that we can collect, so our reactors or weapons that we can pick up. We probably won't keep any of those because you're not really necessarily primarily in here for those, but you'll get a lot of golden Kuiper all dropping. But then what you need to do is keep an eye on the time at the very top, so ideally you have somebody in your group that'll keep an eye on the timer, and when that gets down to 20 seconds I think it is we normally do it at, then obviously somebody jumps in the last circle at the 20 seconds so that it completes it and doesn't fail the mission. Then you can run around, grab all your resources, decon what you don't want, and then somebody will go out and trigger the mission again, and then you just rinse and repeat as many times as you want. So if we join in a minute, pop that one down, and then if we use our L1 and triangle, we can join in as well. And all the time that these AoEs are on the floor, so you've got all the water on the floor from the Valbies that provided that, and then you've got Bunny doing their AoE in the middle. Great, because they can run around in a circle and it keeps their energy up and allows them to keep using the big electric AoE, which is really, really good. It doesn't have to be somebody in the middle, it's just ideal because that way anybody that isn't a Valby or a Bunny isn't getting in each other's way running around in that circle. But then also again, like even while I'm stood here, while the other Valby's going around, while they're in that ability, they can literally phase through you and they don't collide with you, so you're not tripping over each other and you're not running, a Bunny's not running into you and then getting slowed down and not able to use their zap ability, which is why it's good to have them in the middle, because then they're not worrying about getting caught out. Now if they want to grab their loot, normally they will call out that right, we'll do one more circle in here, then I'm going around the outside, so anybody that does need to move can be aware of that and then stand out the way. Then Bunny can come on the outside of the circle and gather their loot, then go back in the middle and carry on. And then obviously people on the outside can just carry on going around and gathering their bits and pieces from the inside. All the outsides, so your gold, your Kuiper.
We call the blue carnival craft. But we don't say craft.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to try and keep it thingy, haven't you? Now, yeah, I can't pick anything up here at the minute. The reason why that is because surprisingly, if you look in your inventory, you will find that you fill up very, very quickly with stuff. Now, if you want to keep something, what you can do is if you hover over it and then press your controller on PlayStation, press your L2, you can pop a heart on it, and that'll mean even if you decon anything else, it'll keep the things that you put a heart on, and that applies to your different ones down here as well, and also to any weapons that you want to keep. But if you're below level 100 guns, you definitely don't want to be keeping any. Just dismantle them for the resource. One other good little thing to do when you come in here, if you take a look at your different modules when you get any, where you've got the main stat that it gives you, then as I say got 2 bits underneath. What you could do is look for something with a good primary stat on it, just for starting out. Then if you're going to run this cave, for example, look for a couple of perks that give you like a gold drop rate increase or a Kuiper shard rate increase. You could have it on one, or you could have it on all of them, or a couple of them. It's entirely up to you. But something that gives you a bit of defense and a bit of health, and then also, ideally, a big boost to your Kuiper or gold drops that you're after. Or if it's reactors that you're farming in here, again, one that gives you a chance of your other resources dropping a bit higher, depending on what it is that you're looking for. But this is definitely a good quick way to level up, and especially for hard mode if you do it on hard, as I said, because the enemies give a lot more XP. Just run around, check I got all of my gold, which we didn't. You can hear that ticking up as we run around. Can't pick any reactors up because we're full, but we shall sort that. Yep. Yep, no problem. So we'll do one more run of this one, just so that you guys can see that again. We're all joining straight away this time, rather than having to explain it. But now you understand how that one works. But if you've got a bunny with you, or if you are bunny, your best thing to do, like you saw there, is just literally, you can just run around this circle. You're not worried about getting hit by anything. Plus you've got your zapper going, so that you can just zap everything on the outside for everybody else and keep people safe. And then yeah, as you'll see now, this container spawns in here, and then there'll be a certain amount of enemies that you need to kill. So we need to try and shoot something if there's anything around. Oh, out. Yeah. Those little floaty eyeballs do hurt. So if you haven't activated the mission, so long as you shoot something,
Activate.
then as long as you shoot something, you're then a part of that mission. Once you've killed enough of the enemies, you'll see that circle appear there, which means you can interact with that, which will then, as you saw before, open and disappear and give you all these circles. Leave this one on the stairs purely because when you're all running around, it's easy for somebody to just quickly jump in that last circle. Sorry, I'll get out of Bunny's way so I don't get in trouble. I'll be getting told to get out of the way otherwise. And not by the player, I'm talking about Bunny herself, she'll be saying it as well. Yeah, if you haven't heard her say that yet, it's yeah, it's quite funny. And there is a, let's call it down but not out mechanic in this game, so if you get killed by something, you don't always instantly just get killed straight away. I don't know if I can find somebody without putting any damage on them, but if you get hit too many times, if you've played Fortnite or things like that before, or even with the new feature, if you play Conan, where you know with the down but not out for your followers, it's kind of the same thing for you. If you take too much damage, you will get knocked down, and then hopefully one of your team, if you're playing as a team, will come along and obviously
then you respawn instantly.
Pick you up. Or if it's a boss, yes, quite rarely, and you get one shot by a boss, then yeah, sometimes it is an instant kill and then you do respawn. Rather annoyingly, sometimes when you respawn though, you get, especially when you're running solo, if you die in the middle of a group of enemies, it tends to spawn you right back in the middle of that group of enemies that just killed you. And if you're playing as Bunny, it's not very good when you get spawned back in like that, right in the middle of a group of ads, and you can't use your zapper, because with Bunny, where you can see at the bottom middle of the screen there, I've only got one bar for Valby, which is our mana pool, which is our essentially ability power. Bunny has two, so she has a MP bar like we do, but then she also has another bar which is her charge status, if you will, so hence why people say Bunny always has to be on the move, because if you don't have your energy fully charged, then you ain't going to be able to use any abilities, and you ain't going to be able to zap anything, just as that Bunny is doing so perfectly well just there. But rather good for this one, especially if you've got at least one Bunny with you, or even two. You can have one running in the inner circle and another around the outside, and you're pretty much good to go. Or if you've got a couple, another way to do it, if you want to do it on a bit more of a chill way of doing it, shall we say, if you don't want all the zappy going on, just come in with a group of Albies and just do exactly the same thing, just ride around the outside, because your water AoE that you pop down on the outside, anything that stands in it, it's lethal to them anyway. So Valby or Bunny are probably, are you going to hit me or not? No? Okay. Excuse me. Have a drink. Oh yes, that's true. Another thing as well. One of the team there just saying. Of course, if you've got a Valby running with Bunny, if she's putting her water down on the floor, where we would say in real life that water and electric don't mix, in this game it actually does. With Bunny and Valby it mixes extremely well, because it gives a 40% boost on the electric damage, which is really good. So if you compare a Valby or a couple of Albies up with a bunny or a couple of bunnies, then you're pretty much laughing. But yeah, another way you can do this is if you come in with, if you've got people who have other characters, a trainer or anybody else they want to level up, they can bring them in, and you could just literally then just have a couple of Albies going around the outside, keeping an AoE on the floor again, and anything that as the enemies spawn, as you can see them spawning, they'll literally pretty much just instantly die as fast as they spawn. The key thing with it is, like I say, just keep an eye on. We just took a nice big hit and that hurt, but luckily it didn't kill us. But obviously as the better level that your character gets and the more you build up the HP on them and the resistances, then the more hits you can take.
Mission accomplished, Descendant.
And yeah, like with that, just make sure you keep an eye on your timer, because if it runs out you will fail the mission, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but your rewards aren't then quite as good, so you definitely want to always try and not fail the mission. Yes, it's a lot faster if you just complete it instantly, but if you're here more for the farming aspect, then definitely just do your 6 circles, keep your 7th one, and designate somebody who's willing but also able to keep an eye on that timer and jumping it in time so that it doesn't time out and fail the mission. So that is the Kuiper mine, which is, as I say, great for Kuiper and gold especially, because you're going to need a heck of a lot of that when it comes to upgrading stuff, especially when it comes to upgrading your modules, which again, there's another, let's call them NPCs, person that you can go and speak to in Albion again, who will allow you to upgrade these, and obviously the more you upgrade them, the more damage you do. So if you've got a range boosting module in, you can increase the range of your ability. So essentially what that would do, where your ability like that would be, so for me L1X would be not quite as wide and not as long, as long as you've got a module that will increase your range, then it will obviously give you a bit more length on it and a bit more width, and anything that increases duration will give you hopefully a little bit more time on it, means it lasts a bit longer, which are definitely good ones you want to be looking at for Bunny, for increasing the AoE, its duration and also the size of it as well, because the bigger that AoE is for Bunny especially, you're pretty much going to hit things further away before they get anywhere near you. And also another good little secret with Bunny's AoE is that even if something was over here and she was in there, it could still zap them through walls as well, so there's no sort of collision thing where things will still get hit through a wall as well. Let's have a look what we got there. So if we have a look, Sunday Cage, did we get another one? Yes, we did. As you can see there, you get another one. And again, with any of these, when you hover over the weapon, if you click on it, this will show you the 4 requirements, and if you hit access info on each individual piece, it will show you where you need to go to acquire it, and it will give you the exact location and the mission you need to go to hopefully get the piece you're looking for. Sometimes the game's RNG might be really nice to you and give it you straight away. Other times it might say, nah, you can wait, and you could be waiting hours, days, or even weeks if you're that unlucky. But yeah, the grind is definitely real, as people would say. But I suppose that's what you get with a grind-based game, isn't it? They make you wait for things. But I think the big thing would just be to have fun with it, enjoy it. Especially, like I say, if you've got a group of friends, definitely more fun with friends, absolutely. No, I think we're good here with what these are. We'll head to another location, which is to another farming spot, which again is another good one to do, but this works slightly different to that one. Again, very, very useful if you've got a bunny or a couple of bunnies on your team that can just run around annihilating everything for you. It can be very, very useful. But typically most of the time when you arrive in a zone, you'll arrive at one of these locations, which is an outpost. So this is a safe zone. So if you find that you've not picked a certain weapon up for a character you're on, you can get to your storage box, which has all your things in that you've kept. So you can grab those in this zone. You can stock up on ammo if you need to. Is there anything else with these? No, I don't think so. What do you... Oh, that's right, yeah. So these are your safe zones, and there is also...
Sharon's only good for the stealth infiltrations.
You've got your workstation here as well, so if you did find that you do need to use the workstation for anything while you're out and about, you can obviously do that here. Yeah, that's quite true with Sharon. She's definitely good on the stealth side of things. So if you're trying to do some of the void fusion reactors, I think they are, where you have, I think there's 2 minimum sometimes, possibly 3, and then anything up to 4 little generators, I'm going to call them, which if you use Sharon, who one of her abilities is stealth, so she can go invisible, she can go into that little area, interact with one of those generators and then destroy it without being seen. If she can successfully do that without being seen, then obviously when the 3 or 4 generators are destroyed, that'll force the boss to spawn. And then if your Sharon is quite squishy, but you've got somebody else with you like an Ajax who just comes flying in from a cliff or somewhere that can just annihilate everything, then that's also a good way to do it as well. When you can jump in with his super jump and just wipe the boss in one hit, that's great when that works. But yes, again, just saying there in the group that also as well, if you're on Sharon and you are solo, you can also do it with a sniper as well, which can be pretty helpful, and it's easy enough to do. It's just again a case of building Sharon around her if you're going for the stealth side of it.
What do you get
If we
when you
take a
mix
look,
water and
I won't
fire?
change to her, but if you take a look at her
The vulgar
abilities again here, this is a stealth ability, so again she's another
because I must in their blood.
dimension character, so electric and dimension, so you'd want to be looking for reactors with potential electric and dimension in boosts on, because the dimensional skill obviously will boost her stealth. Again, there's lots and lots of videos out there of people who've done different builds for her. You can build her as a single boss killer if you want to build her as a boss killer, as a sniper, or if you want her as a general purpose where she can just go out and kill anything, or if you want to build a fully round stealth, you can do that as well. Pretty much with any of the characters, there's multiple ways you can build them, and I've still got a lot to look at yet, and different builds to experiment with and try out. But that's the big thing I can say with it all, is experiment, try them all out, try everybody. Each character's different in their own different way because of skills that they have and different abilities that they can use, and it all depends on your playstyle as to what you find is best for you. What is good for one player may not feel comfortable to another. I didn't think I'd be used to playing somebody like Bunny with how quick you have to move all the time, but once you get used to her and get used to the skills and her movement, you stop running off the edge of cliffs as many times as you used to do. Because I used to do that when I used to play her at first. I'd be moving that fast, I'd run off the edge of a cliff like, yep, didn't mean to do that. But it's, yeah. You won't be the first person to do it, and you certainly won't be the last. A lot of people will do that, but yeah, just experiment with them all. Yes, it's worth going out, farming the resources to get each of the basic descendants. Get them if you want to get them, try them out, find who you like, who you don't like, and then discover who suits your playstyle, really. That's the key thing with it. You'll know once you've tried a few who suits you more, really. So, if we're ready for the next one, we shall take a look at another mission. And again, obviously, if you are in a group, some of the mission you can obviously activate this mission yourself as well. But certain missions that are ones where you can either run it private or public, kind of thing. So sort of the end game missions for the zone or the big missions, it has to be the group leader that activates the mission. But you'll know if that is the case when you interact with the mission launcher. If it's one of those group-based missions, it will say
with controller and others better with mouse and keyboard.
Only the group leader can start the mission, kind of thing. So yeah, this is our next zone, and the object of this zone is to protect this tank here. And what will happen is there will be, let's call them little ships, that will appear in different spots over there that will, in waves, spawn enemies, and gradually, as you complete each wave, they'll start to spawn more of them and more regularly. Some will come out of here and get them coming from over there, that side as well. And eventually we will get them creeping up from the back as well down here. Ideally with this one, if you've got two people like similar to us maybe, or a trainer or other people that aren't necessarily as mobile or that are trying to level, you want to stay here near this tank. It's not a machine, it's a storage tank, isn't it? Then your job really is to protect it from anything that gets too close. But if you've got a bunny or a couple of bunnies, or if you're in a team of 4 and there's 3 bunnies running around, or even 2 bunnies, and you could have Valby up there as well if there was another Valby as well, or anybody, pretty much with where you can see these, I suppose you call them spawners. See, not paying attention already. Spawners are spawning the enemies, then obviously as they spawn in, if your bunnies are working well together, which all of ours are, then ideally nothing should be getting anywhere near this tank, because if the enemy destroy this tank, which the icon up the top there, like where the timer is and where the counter for the enemy kills for the wave is, if this takes damage, another bar will appear that's telling you it's the amount of health that this has left, and if this gets destroyed, then it's mission failed. And yeah, I'm doing a very poor job at my job at the minute, but it's not easy trying to talk to a chat and play a game at the same time. So if you've never tried it before, try it and you'll know what I mean. But when you're doing this normally, playing with friends, it's a lot easier because you're not having to talk to a YouTube chat at the same time. But yeah, your primary job would be to stay around this area, and then every so often, maybe at the end of a wave, one of the bunnies, if you're ideally in a party chat or a Discord chat, if you're on PC or Xbox maybe, or an Xbox chat, one of the bunnies will say to you, right, you go grab your loot, and they'll come and just zap around this area in case anything restarts spawning while you're running around grabbing your gold and your Kuiper and what have you, and then you can kind of swap over, and then you're not worrying about leaving your post and getting too much damage done to the tank at the same time. But yeah, this is probably, as these waves go on, where you will see, we'll probably go down a few times. Just because I am quite squishy at the minute, like I say, because I'm not back at level 40, so you do get a slight reduction in all your stats again while you're leveling again. But if you bring bunnies to things like this, A, it makes your life a heck of a lot easier, but it's also good fun for them as well, because bunny's just an absolute AoE beast at just shredding everything, as you can see. So any of the missions to do are all... A lot of the missions are fun. There are one or two, shall we say, that are a bit, oh no, not this mission again. Where they involve things like there are little floating platforms that you have to grapple up to or jump across before they disappear from under your feet, because they're 200 feet up in the air, because you've got to jump across them to grab little orange, I think they are, or yellowy coloured like orbs that are there to count up, so you've got to collect sometimes. I'll say 30 just as an example, I can't remember the exact number, but it'll say you've got to collect X amount of these, so you've got to jump over things or grapple up things and collect a certain amount of these orbs within a certain length of time before you fail the mission. Certain ones of those we've all been saying as we've been playing through the game. When we've been doing it again with somebody else, we've got back to that mission and it's kind of like, uh-oh, not this mission again. Because they are a bit cringy, shall we say. If you've not got a good head for heights, they're definitely not very good either. If you don't like heights, just while you're jumping on the platforms, try and watch what you're doing, but just don't look down. Because, yeah, it can be quite interesting. There's another mission similar to this in this area as well, that starts from over there, where you can, again, you get waves spawning and a boss, and you can use these tunnels where you go underneath and run around in a big loop doing the same thing again, which is another good XP farm. But this one definitely is a good one again if you're trying to level people up, even as a new character starting from scratch kind of thing, but you're doing the campaign but you want to get your levels up a bit. This is why this game is so much better with friends, and the fact that it's also cross-platform helps a huge amount, because obviously a lot of games are only single platform, so PlayStation exclusive, Xbox exclusive, or only for PC, and sometimes matchmaking can be, you know, quite a pain and you could be waiting a while, whereas I've noticed with a lot of the missions, like the intercept battles, when you go into those, if you're going into it solo, to queue random as it can be, most of the time typically less than 30 seconds and you're loading. Now a lot of games that have non-cross platform but multiplayer, you could be waiting ages just to find a group, but you will get potentially in-game friend requests from people as well. But as I'm sure most of you would do anyway, do look at players' profiles when they send you requests and what have you, because it can happen, and they could be genuine and they could be, you know, a nice person, and you might never literally speak to them, but they might be just somebody like you that's enjoying playing the game, just needs somebody to go and run a leveling up mission with, or a, you know, particular boss that they can't do, and they've seen how good you were in that mission and probably think, you know, I'll make that person my friend if they'll accept it, hopefully, because I could do with a helper like that, because that can happen as well. You know, and you've got to remember as well, there's, in the game it's easy sometimes, especially in group play, if you're not in a group of friends, to think, oh, this person's not very good, or why aren't they doing any damage. You have to remember they're probably in the same position that you were in a few weeks ago, or a few days ago, or a few months ago, where they're literally brand new to the game, never played it, don't know what they're doing. You know, I'm sure it's all easy for all of us, isn't it, to, like with any game, to see somebody straight away and just think, why are they dying all the time? Sometimes there are people who do take the mickey a little bit, unfortunately, let's be honest, you know, join something where they need to be of a certain capability, but are just two glass cannon. It can happen, but 9 times out of 10 you'll usually get a good bunch of people, which is why it's great if you've got a group of friends that can obviously come and play with you, because you all know each other and you can work off each other's strengths and weaknesses. You know who feels better with a certain character and knows that character better and can have a good build for them to, and may be happy to share that build with you, and then you try it and find that, yeah, you're not then dying as quick and easy as you were doing, and you can, you know, share all your experiences and opinions with each other and share build ideas, and ideally work together as a team, because you'd like to think, as being friends, that you work well as a team, because it can get stressful, believe it or not. It can get intense sometimes, especially with some of the intercept battles. There's I'm trying to think which boss it is now. I think it's the Pyromaniac, I think he's called. One of his crazy, what do they call, not abilities, but one of his phases that he goes into, he'll start just spawning all this lightning bolts just landing everywhere, and to somebody that's brand new and never fought him before, you go into full-on panic mode because you don't want to get hit by all this lightning because you don't know what it is. And once you've played a bit and you know he does it, you kind of just step around it and sidestep it all because you're used to it. But again, that's another thing with those bosses, is learning their mechanics of, you know, don't be afraid the first time of dying too much or not doing enough damage, because you don't know how that boss works yet because you've never fought them before. Wait till you get to the Hanged Man though. That's an interesting one, I will say that. You definitely need somebody that knows what they're doing with that guy. Because you can try and do it with randoms and people who don't know what they're doing, but there is a bit more of a mechanic involved to that one. You definitely need a bit of good communication for somebody to give out, you know, instructions of what to do, where and when. Because that can make a heck of a difference, and it can make a difference between defeating the boss or not defeating the boss. So that's another thing to bear in mind if you've got somebody who has an understanding of that boss and can explain it and sort of be the leader, if you will, kind of thing. And probably a good mix in there again is, ideally you probably want an Ajax on the team with a good shield and a good dome shield, because just with where the guy spawns you need that shield wall straight away, because he does hurt. He can hit quite hard, as many of the bosses do. Most of the intercept bosses hit quite hard, apart from probably the first one. Gravewalker, I think it's called, isn't too bad. Yes, it can hurt early on if you don't know how to fight him and what he does. But as you progress further and the enemies in the normal missions get harder, as do the bosses. And then it comes to the hard mode versions of them. And that's when you start to realise, as we've all been doing recently, that, yeah, my Descendant isn't maybe as strong as I need them to be just yet for hard mode. So it takes a lot of work and a lot of studying and understanding your character. So again, just once you find the one that you think is your playstyle, stick with that one. Focus on that character and try and invest the time and the study into them rather than flitting between too many, because otherwise you can start to sort of forget what you're doing or how to build them, because you jump in between different ones all the time. Ouch, let me throw some AoEs down because those guys are hurting. Come here, you. Have some of that. There we go. And you, with your shield. Yeah, these guys can be a pain.
They're clearly intending to destroy our facility.
The ones with shields can be a little bit of a nuisance. I'm trying to let these guys knock me deliberately so you can see what I mean if you get knocked by somebody. Go on, take me out. Yeah, go on, hit me, come on. Do you know, when you actually want them to knock you out, they don't do it. And when you're not expecting it, they do. Come on. I haven't got that much health yet. Take me out. There we go. So yeah, you'll go into what you call a down but not out state, which means you can crawl. Now you can hold X and respawn, or hopefully, what would happen is one of your teammates will be able to get to you, like that, and pick you up again. And then say something sarcastic like that, yeah. Like Bunny just did. Not the person, the character obviously. Which is quite funny because you might get a different response each time. Like that was a Valby snap out of it. So I listened to some of those, they're quite funny. So at the end of this round now, that's come up there now, saying about the rewards, meaning at the end of this round, this is where we will actually get the bigger rewards from completing the missions, or completing so many waves as it is. But again, this is another fun one for testing out your build and certainly leveling up if you're trying to do it quickly, if you're trying to use all those catalysts for your character and you're constantly resetting back to level 1 again. Your weapons still stay as the way you had them and still with all the things on them that you've put on them. You don't lose anything from those. You don't lose everything back to level 1, you have to re-level everything once again. They all stay at the correct level. And shall we say I'm very fortunate I'm not getting told off by my team right now, because I'm not doing my job very well. I'm supposed to be protecting this thing and I'm letting it get hit, which I shouldn't really be doing. I should be concentrating a bit more. But this just shows a pure example of how hard it is to talk to a YouTube chat and stream and play a game. Right, there's the boss. So your first thing is to snap those little globes that you can see flying around him, and then take him out, and he's dead. And obviously the higher level they get, the harder those bosses get. They have a bit more health and a bit more shield, so they take a bit more to kill. And as you can tell now, as the levels are going on, there's more of the enemies spawning a lot more rapidly, and they have a lot more health and they hit a lot harder. So you've got to be really on your toes, or on your bunny toes if you want to put it that way, especially if you're bunny, running around zapping everything. But yeah, these guys start to hurt a lot more, and then you'll get to a stage where this will happen. Now if you want to continue, then obviously you select the continue option. Now if you're running with randoms, you might get that it'll go to there and show you that if anybody doesn't want to continue, they'll click exit, and then they will then leave the mission. But the mission will still carry on if you and say 2 others have said continue, but the other person said no, they want to leave. They'll leave, and you yourself and the other 2 that are still in it, the mission will carry on progressing. Ultimately your goal with this is to complete it completely and survive. I believe it's 30 waves in this one. There are some that have a lot less, but this one, 21. Right, this is 21 waves in this one. And then, right, cool. So yeah, 10 waves in the lowest version, and then you've got higher ones, and this is 21. So it can, and then 38 is your highest one, which, as you can imagine, can get even harder still. But worth it for the XP, especially if you're trying to level up. So it's a real. This is an even. The other one we just showed, just a little cave, is best for you when you're farming your golden Kuiper, especially for focus farming. You could do it here as well, but I would use this mission more for certainly getting a bit your golden Kuiper, and yeah, void shards as well, which is another important resource that you'll need. You can farm those from here, so again make sure you've got modules on that will give you a good void shard drop rate increase to those. And your main thing really is you're going to be leveling up pretty quick, because it takes a lot of the pressure off you as well if you're the person that's looking after the thing at the back. Because like I said, if you've got bunny running with you, or a couple of bunnies, they're just zapping everything literally as it spawns, so even though they're killing everything, you're still gaining the XP as well. So I suppose the other thing to say there then is, anybody that has tried the game or is still playing it, what do people think of it? Or what would they like to see in it if the developers were going to add it? Or what would they like to see changed? Yeah. Always interesting to see what people think about negative and positive, obviously, because there can be good and bad things, like with any game. Oh, Tank's getting hit again. Get out of it. But yeah, there's one of the group here that said we'd like to see a slide mechanic. That would be quite cool, definitely. Certainly make using skills different. Absolutely. Ooh, zap and slide. Yeah, that would definitely be a fun one. Oh. Use my abilities again. Oh. Of course, we do have an update coming up shortly with Season 1 as they're calling it, although this is technically Season 1, but I suppose they're calling that Season 1 because this is probably the warm-up season or the practice season kind of thing. So the first update for that will be 29th of August, which is next Thursday, I believe. And then it was originally, up until today, going to be 2 more updates to the season after that, with one being the back end of October. But the developers have now said, with what people are requesting, because this is a development team that actually listen to their player base with a lot of things, which is very cool to see, and we hope that that continues for the life of the game, because like a lot of people will say, the more they listen, the more they listen to what people want and try and give people what they want, the more people are going to keep playing. And that potentially means, yes, although this is a free-to-play game, you are technically, as said individual one said, it's technically a free-to-pay game as well, meaning, you have the choice to either purchase Descendants or skins and other things, etc., from the store that they have. You're not obliged to do, obviously, but that is obviously how the developers make their money, from the store, not from the game itself, because it's free to play. Which I did see a video the other day where it was a bit of a Q&A thing, I think, and one of the Q&A questions that somebody had asked was, will they ever be adding any paid for DLC? And the developers basically said that that's never been nor will ever be their intention, because their intention was, which is why they made it free to play, is for anything that ever gets added to be a free to play game, including DLCs that get added. Oh, boss has spawned again, so there he is again. And down. There we go. So yes, they will always be adding new things, but it will always be free for people to play, because the way they make their money is through people purchasing either their basic Descendants or their ultimate Descendants from the store or the marketplace, if you want to call it that. Because you can purchase the regular Descendants and also the ultimate versions from the in-game store if you wish to do. You can obviously grind all of them in-game, the basic ones and the ultimate versions, but if you feel like treating yourself or supporting the developers, if you feel that they're doing a good enough job and you want to support them financially, you can obviously do that and buy items from the store as well. But yeah, instead of the update now being this coming Thursday and then, trying to remember the 2 dates now, I think it was going to be at end of September then end of October, which was going to be update 3 at the end of October. It's now going to be a second update on the 10th of October instead of the 30th of October, because it was go again on here if you like. Yeah, it was going to be 3 updates, but they've merged update 2 and 3 into one, so instead of the 30th of October it's now the 10th of October up to now, which gives all the features of what was coming in the second update and in the final update, which also includes Ultimate Freyner. So Freyner, who is the toxic ability based Descendant, is now getting an ultimate version that will be arriving in the second update version for Season 1, including a lot of other features and the usual bug fixes and whatever else that a lot of other updates always have. And also, it didn't actually say all the details for that now, but at some point I believe in that second update still there's also a trader going to be appearing, which is somebody that, one of the big complaints has always been, when you farm certain items from the intercept bosses at the end, so the intercept battles and you're after blueprints or like a spiral catalyst for example, or different things which are needed to craft your various descendants, you can end up using your anamorphous material, which is a material that you need to farm various ones from different locations to be able to get those certain resources from the certain bosses. You can end up, just because you got it once doesn't mean that if you run that boss again that it'll give you a different one. You still have a percentage chance, and you can end up, there's a lot of us ended up with 10, probably even 20 if not more of the same piece for the same weapon or person that we don't need. So we're hoping that with this trader that's being added is somebody that you're going to be able to go to and trade in these duplicate plans or blueprints or whatever that you've got, either blueprint for blueprint, or be able to sell them to him for the resources that he'll give you the resources for the piece you're looking for. Maybe we don't know how it's going to work yet. We've not really had any details on how this trader will work yet. I think all we know so far is that it'll work off a rotation basis, like where I think it's weekly, where like 1 week he'll have weapon based materials, I presume more items, and another week it'll be descendant based pieces, but they haven't confirmed all that as yet, so we don't actually know how that's going to work. But it's certainly a positive thing. Again, it's what people are posting on Reddit and other forums and asking the devs for, and it seems to be, surprisingly, as I say, one development team at the minute who do actually seem to give a damn about their player base and their players and all platforms. And rather than coming along and saying, nah, we're not going to give you that, or no, we don't want to do that, it's more with a lot of it a case of, you want that, there you go, no problem, done. And that, in today's modern gaming society or world, shall we say, very, very rarely happens. Like there was a whole thing with another area that was called the, not the Valby Farm, what did they call it? It got a nickname, which was an area that you could go and farm constantly for huge, ridiculous amounts of Kuiper shards. And yeah, well, there's a couple. There's the Bunny Cave, and then there was another one, not the VS farm, can't remember which it was now, but there's been loads of videos on YouTube for it. And rather than developers coming along and saying, oops, we shouldn't have had that so boosted, oh well, what's happened there, we're just going to nerf the heck out of it now, they actually came along when that was discovered and said, you know what, we realised, whoops, that was our mess up, that should never have been the intention, that particular thing should not have been doing the amount of resources it was giving. But instead of, like a lot of game developers would, and saying it shouldn't have been doing that, we're going to nerf it, what they did is they said, yes, we are going to tweak it and alter it, but we're not going to nerf it, we're going to sort it out, and we're going to make other similar areas the same as that. Whereas typically with a lot of other games, if something isn't doing what it was ever intended to do, or was a mistake, the developers will come along and say, oh yeah, that's our fault, we messed up, that was never an intention, bang, here we go, here's a big nerf, now it's no good. Instead of doing that, they just rebalanced that particular area and also brought other similar areas that give a similar sort of resource, similar buff to make it on par with those. So it's not as super duper OP as it was, but that area, along with all the other similar areas to it, are all worth farming now. So you can do one, go across to another one, do that one, go to another one, do that one, and come back. It's actually worth investing your time in and doing the grind for, to run around farming that resource now, which was a big surprise with a lot of things. Because let's be honest, who knows of a game developer in these past 5-10 years, let's say, that's actually made not a problem, but has done something wrong in a game, like where they've messed up with something. Who knows of another developer or a game where the developers have come along, admitted they've done wrong, and actually favoured the player rather than nerfing. I can't think of another game that's done it to that extent, that's actually not only held their hands up and admitted they never intended to do that, but hasn't then said, no, we're going to nerf the heck out of you, we're actually going to do you a favour. Yes, the player base has dropped off a lot on Steam, I believe it is, but again, that's probably down to the time of year and obviously certain things with it that maybe people aren't so keen on. And yes, there are a lot of other games coming out at the minute as well that people are probably trying, but a few videos that I've seen where people are talking about the Steam charts and saying how it's dropped off there, apparently, I don't know if it's still the same now, but their biggest player base recently was on console, so like Xbox and PlayStation. The core amount of regular concurrent players seems to be PlayStation and Xbox at the moment. So it's in no means dying or going anywhere, it's still going strong. Not necessarily as strong as launch, but that doesn't mean, you know, that it's on a decline or anything. It could be on its way up, and, you know, Season 1 launches, when that comes out, you could see a rise in players again. It's like any game, especially a live service game, it's going to go through its ups and downs where, you know, it'll have huge amounts of players when something new comes out, and then it'll dip off again for a little while, or it may increase even more, or then it'll dip off again. And but I think if the developers keep going the way they're going, and holding their hands up and apologising when they mess up, if they do mess up a bit, and realising, whoops, we've messed up. And yeah, that's another point as well, actually. Just saying in group, another good point, that yeah, it's the only game we can think of at the moment that when they have messed up and they've actually fixed it, that they've actually compensated the player base for their mess up as well. So they've not only held their hands up and admitted they messed up, they've said, hey, we messed up, this is what we're going to do, but here you go, have this as well. And actually, they gave like 9 days worth of boosters, which is amazing, which to them would have cost them a lot of money. If you think it's probably XP boosters in game and what have you, about $15 a piece, I think, something like that. For 3 days, yeah, which is just to actually say sorry to your player base, but also say, here you go, here's some compensation for you. That's why the core base of players probably that are sticking with it are sticking with it, because they're seeing the developers admit they've messed up, but they're also not slapping you in the face as the saying goes, and oh well, guess what, never mind, you put all them hours in and you play all those hours and do all this grind now, well, so what? It's actually a thanks for sticking with us, here's your reward. Oh, okay, well thank you, that's very nice. Which is going to keep a lot of people happy. Yes, down the line there's probably going to be things that'll change or add that people don't like, but let's face it, with any live service looter shooter, whether it's PvE or PvP, whatever it is, there's always going to be a divide with things. There's going to be some things that they add that people love, there'll be the core amount of people that don't like what they've added, or there'll be one thing that people saw as a nerf that other people think needed doing. But the key thing with it, I think, is that so long as they maintain balance, which is an important thing, you know, that everything stays finely tuned and balanced at least, equipment wise, drop wise, you know, character or descendant ability wise kind of thing, that people have said, like some of the descendants on the basic versions of them, they don't feel quite as good as like a standard bunny or a standard leopard or somebody, for example. They feel that they're a little bit squishy on them, but instead of developers saying, well, that's how we designed them, tough luck kind of thing, just get stronger, they seem to be accepting that and doing something about it.
I'm sorry, Descendant. No time to catch your breath. We have more enemies coming at us.
Right, sorry about that, just had to have a drink for a second. My throat was scratching a little bit for some reason. Oh. Bossman again. Whoa! This is where it gets crazy now. When you get to these higher stages, this is when the waves start getting harder. Oh. Get some AoE put down. Now, if I'd have been doing this probably 10-15 levels ago, I wouldn't have been able to take half as many hits as what I am doing with the way Valby's set up at the minute. She would definitely have been taking a lot more damage and getting knocked a lot easier. So you do definitely start to notice a difference as you level up. Yes, we shall take a breather on that note and return back to let everybody get their energy back again. Because they are quite intense, those missions. It's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of hard work for your team especially as well. Especially when you're running around like a crazy bunny. But this one is definitely a good one for once you've got the area unlocked for levelling up. So then when you've got the few seconds and you're waiting for it to port you back to your safe zone, there's your time to run around and just grab all your stuff that you can. Your group leader can teleport you out the area, but there will be a point at times where the mission will automatically time out and then time you out of there and bring you back to your safe zone. As I say, you will land here, but you can go to your map and then click on there. So once you complete the story campaign, you'll unlock this, so you can teleport across here. And then one other quick person to show you that I didn't show earlier. Once you unlock the stories, a couple actually, if I remember. Once you've unlocked the main campaign, you can unlock this here, which is the laboratory.
Afternoon, everyone.
Which is like a test zone that you can go into and test out your build and what have you, so you can set it all to however you want it to be and test out your build and experiment with different things. So that's a good one. And the other one,
Hi, Rex.
Rex, good to see you, welcome on in. The other thing I wanted to show you is this guy here.
Welcome. You're here for modules, right?
And he'll say some different things each time, like he just said there. You're here for modules, right? Well, apart from modules, I don't know what else he does, so I think that's a bit of a sarcastic one, but yeah.
If all modules were the same, I'd be out of a job, right?
Yeah, you would. So with this guy again, you've got 3 different features. You can combine modules, which you can do with your regular ones, but also you can do this with your Transcendent modules as well to have a chance of getting
Don't forget to smash the like button.
a good
Gently.
high level one that you need. So you pop them in here. Another option, you can dismantle mods, so you can only carry so many modules, so once you get full you can highlight all the ones you don't want and it'll stack them in. It'll tell you how much, I believe, is it gold or resource that you get back for it here, and then you hit the big button at the bottom. But what it will do is when you highlight them, it will keep one of each different card type that you have at least, so you won't delete absolutely every one that you had. It will keep one of each different one that you've collected, because you do reach a max limit where eventually you won't be able to pick any more up, so you will have to keep dismantling mods as well.
Like button tickled. Winking face.
Oh, thank you. Hope you did tickle it, especially if you're on mobile phones. You don't want to be was it Angelo, was it, that did it and then nearly broke his phone? Don't want people to be doing that. So yeah, the other main feature for this one is, if I go back to my Descendent modules a minute, these will all start off at 0, and then you can
Hey there. What can I help you with?
come to this guy, and if you click on each one, so for example we'll click on this one, and then it'll appear there, and it will tell you what rank it's already at. So this is already at max rank, and then it'll say here what its current stat value is, and then what the upgrade version will be, and also it'll tell you how many slots it's going to take, because each module takes so many slots in your module list, and then you just hold that big button and it will increase it till it hits maximum. So for this particular one it's 10, and then once you excuse me, reach your module limit, what you'll need to do is you can come to this option here, which is already showing for me because I've already done it, but you'll have a thing at the side where it shows you need a item called an energy activator, which I'll show you how you craft that in a second, and you place one of those in and activate it, and your capacity will increase here. So once you get to maximum, it won't allow you to do it again, but it'll increase your mod capacity for what you have for all these modules combined, so that as you boost all of these, you've actually got the space to do it. And then another thing you can do with something called a crystallization catalyst, or a rainbow wheel, if you want to call it that, as we call it. Again, this is another crafted item. This is where you start getting to your module sockets now. So all this is where our Descendant mods are. This is literally those squares for each mod that we have in, and depending on the mod type, so like on our mods that we've currently got, these are the ones I've got in. So each of these, so this mod and my mod list will have an M at the top of it. So that is that one there. What that's telling me is that that already has an M socket in it. So because that has the M in that square,
Curry arrived. Catch all your
that'll
lovely
help me
beef
to
platters.
reduce the cost for that particular socket. Hang on, no worries. Enjoy the curry. Thank you for being here as always, and we'll hopefully catch you Sunday. And you can do this with all of your module sockets. I've actually done most of these with my Ultimate Bunny now. The only one I haven't done is this one, because a lot of people recommend with your builds not to put one in this very first socket, purely for if you're ever changing the Transcendent mod that you're going to use for that character, if you're ever going to change it, and it's that mod is a different letter. At the minute, you wouldn't be able to change it to a different letter. Now that may change in the future that you are able to, but as it stands at the minute, once you socket that slot, that would be locked to that particular letter.
Enjoy Angar.
So you kind of avoid that one. This one, definitely, this is where our mid-air manoeuvring is, which is one of our grappling abilities. Just means that instead of having to grapple onto a surface with our grappler, we can look at the sky and hit it, and it'll still work just the same as a normal grapple. And then depending on what your mod type is, again, will depend on the letter. So where we've got a module that has a letter C at the top, for example, we'd put a letter C in there. But to be able to do it, we need to be at level 40, and we need to have one of those. So it has to correspond to what your different mods are here. So if it's an R, it needs to be an R behind it. If it's a C, it would be a C, depending on what you have. And then you can see your different numbers down at the side here. When you're in your inventory menu here, again on controller, if you tap square, it'll bring all your stats up there again as well. So you can kind of take a look at everything, and you can also view your weapons there as well, which is pretty good. So if you want to create either of those particular items, again you'll need to farm lots of resources for them,
Now
but you come to...
go on, I'm waiting.
That's twice she said that to me tonight. She must be in a bad mood. Don't know why when it's a Friday, but you know. Click on here, and then what you'd want to do is go down to your bottom option. We already have one crafting there, which is the energy activator, which is the one you need to increase your mod capacity. And then if you want to add, as we've just seen, one of these sockets, so the letters for your sockets, you would need the other one, which is this one here. And again, each little square you can hover over within that item and it will tell you what the resources you need, and if it's in red because you haven't got enough, you can select one of these. It'll open it up on your map for you, and then you can teleport to that mission and go and farm that mission to gather those resources. Same applies for weapon items as well, and anything you've got queued will be here, and like you saw at the start, if it's got a tick on it, that means it's complete, so then you can claim it. Same goes for when you've crafted all the pieces for a particular descendant that you'll need. They'll all be in this list as well. And one other quick thing that I need to remember about, while you're progressing through the game and you're using your weapons, they're gaining what you call mastery rank or mastery level, which is your proficiency. We'll go back to where we started as well in a moment before we wrap things up, if the gang's all back in place. But before we go back there, so your proficiency, excuse me, as you'll see when you're looking at weapon there, see at the bottom there where it tells you your weapon proficiency, that goes up to level 40 as well. And as you increase that and increase your mastery on all of your different weapons, depending on what they are, if they're a different type, you do it with all of those. And then as you level up your mastery and you gain enough XP, you can come into this machine. Can't actually do it yet there, but as you can see, you'll then press and hold this button, and then you'll get a little cutscene that'll appear with your character where you end up in the middle of there, and the hands do all the magic to boost you up and increase your mastery rank. There's a lot more, like I say, to go through with this, a heck of a lot more, and you could spend more than 2 hours on it easily. A heck of a lot more. But that's just a quick look into it. Like I say, at the moment there are lots of people out there who do stream on Twitch a lot more regular with this, and even YouTube, and that also make a lot of videos, a lot of guides. There's a few that I've been looking at as well, and all I would say is just have a look at different people. Don't just look at a build straight away and think, oh yeah, that'll do, because it might work for them, it might not work for you, or you might watch one build and then somebody else says that they've got the best bunny guide, for example, and you look at that, and everybody's different and everybody will have their own opinion on builds. There is no right or wrong build, you know. It's, you make your descendant the way you want them to be, essentially. You build them your way, but if you just want some pointers on things of how to, you know, build them, what modules to get for them, or right, you're playing as Bunny but you don't know what reactor to look for her, and again, you can look up some builds. But again, in here there are lots of other menus again where you can change cosmetic items for characters if you've got different hairstyles or outfits for them, back pieces, accessories, there's all sorts, emotes, which the bongos that you've seen people playing is an emote, so if somebody's using that, which that actually was from the first battle pass, if you walk up to this ghost symbol, you can obviously interact with it and join in as well, which is pretty fun. For me, it would be the left arrow on controller, and then whichever emote you're going to use, so we could select that one for a high five, for example, and then you'll get a little ghost symbol in front, and if you're lucky you'll get a high five off somebody like that. The amount of times we've seen people just stood and you run past them and they're like that, waiting for somebody to give him a high five and nobody does it. Yeah, leave them hanging. It's yeah. Well, there's lots of those.
What do you get when you
You
mix
can,
water
on
and
this menu
sugar?
again, using your options button,
What do you get when you
you've
mix
got your
water
descendant
and
list,
sugar?
and if you press this arrow at the bottom here, you'll have all the descendants that you have unlocked or that you've created
Of course.
at the beginning, and then you'll see all of the others that you can unlock as well. That's our inventory menus, that's all cosmetics. Battle pass would be here, and then this is your store, if you will. So this is all the different skins and packs and items and all sorts that you can get. Lots of different cosmetics, outfits, yep, all sorts of. You do get these where you can purchase them, but if you want to put your real life money into it to buy these, by all means go ahead and do it, but I'm not recommending it and saying you should do it, because to be quite honest, if you or a bunch of friends or whatever, and you can easily go out and farm more than enough resource to make multiples of each of these. So rather than spending your real money on buying a couple of them, just go out, play missions, just farm the resources, and before you know it, you'll be able to make loads of them. But yeah, just to go back to the battle pass, this is always shown here. So you'll have your battle pass, so as you progress, it'll check them off as you go along, and then you've got your coins up at the top there, so your battle pass currency. So that will show you each different unlock that you can gain through the battle pass, which can be emotes, paints that you can use to dye your different outfits, all sorts of other bits and pieces. Sometimes you can even get a bit of in-game currency as well. Then you've also got this bit related to the battle pass again, which, yeah, again, you can get the battle pass currency by completing daily, weekly and seasonal challenges to purchase some of these, but these are all totally craftable again from the, yeah, you can craft these, but we're just saying there in group as well that if you haven't spent all of this yet for buying these, even if you just use up this currency to buy some of these, do make sure you do it before the new season comes along on the 29th of August, because all of your battle pass currency does get wiped, so you would have to start again. So if you've got any, that's good advice there, that yeah, make sure you get it spent up and used. Or even on some of this, you've got other cosmetic items you could get for different people and things as well, so definitely get that used up. 29th of August is when the new season's supposed to arrive, so all this will be a new battle pass and starting again.
What do you get when you...
So again, if also while we're on this menu, if you're also looking for what different things are, you can see them all here. And you've got a huge list. But again, if you get stuck with things or you get stuck on menus, Google is a good option sometimes, but ideally if you prefer the visual side of things, just search for it on somewhere like YouTube or whatever, how to find such a thing or how to make such a thing or whatever. Do that and have a look for it, and I'm sure you'll find something. Or the other option, team up with a bunch of friends, because you know what, it makes life a heck of a lot easier and it makes it even more fun. So yeah, quite a lot going on there. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting. Such a lot to pack in, obviously, and first time back again after having a break for a few weeks. Still got a lot to learn with this game. Still a noob, as they would say, which most of us would probably say we are, but yeah, just you won't learn everything instantly, even we're all still learning. We're telling each other things at times like, did you know you could do this? Or did you know you could... Oh, okay. It can be, yeah, it's a steep learning curve, but if you are jumping in for the first time, like I say, it's free to download on all platforms, free to play. Quite daunting when you see all the menus when you first load in, but just ignore it, don't be too afraid of it, just jump in, pick your character of the first three that you can choose from, run through the campaign a little bit, encourage your friends to come and play if they don't, so they can help you when you get stuck. And but yeah, just have fun with it. That's the main thing I can say with it, is enjoy it, because we're certainly having fun with it. And I, for one, will hold my hands up and say, first time I saw this, I was a bit, yeah, might be a bit much with all the menus, but here we are so many hours later still playing. So enjoy. Like I say, thank you once again, all of you, for being here, and a big thank you to the team, of course, for participating and showing everything off so well, and being on their best behaviour, I must add.
Thanks, lad.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Face with smiling eyes.
hope you all enjoyed. Do leave a comment or a question down below, and if we can answer it, we'll do our best to do so. If I see you in Angor stream on Sunday, I shall see you there, or I shall see you in game if not, or in party chat, or if I don't see you in any of those, I'll hopefully catch you next Friday, 7 PM UK time. So that's it from us. Thanks again, everybody, for being here. Have a good weekend and a good week. See you soon.